Well, good evening. I'd like to call this City Council meeting to order for May 20th, 2014. Would everybody please rise? And Norma Blanchard, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm sure I speak for everyone here on the dais. It's always great to see a packed house for a city council meeting. Thank you for being here. We've got a full agenda, so we'll get right to it. Presentations. We have Councilmember Selski for the Certificate of Recognition for Jesse Winkler.
Thank you, Mayor Farrell. So I'm really pleased to start out tonight's meeting with a presentation to a special young man deserving of a very special recognition. So can I please have Jesse Winkler, his mom and dad, Joe and Desiree, go up to the podium, of course with Isaiah, and Grandma Judy to the podium, and Nancy Janicki and Shelley Pauls as well. So as you're going to see, Jesse really did an extraordinary thing. And I'll read the certificate announcing exactly what he did. So this is a City of Federal Way Certificate of Recognition presented to Jesse Winkler. Federal Way's volunteers make our community better and improve the lives of their neighbors. Jesse Winkler is a young man who has become a champion of Reach Out Federal Way and has raised funds at the annual Roller Mania event all 3 years that the event has been held. This year, he asked his friends to bring donations for Reach Out to his 8th birthday party and raised $221 for the charity. So as a result, Team Jesse won the award for the largest team donation at Roller Mania, a total of $721. The Mayor and City Council wish to recognize Jesse's outstanding leadership in fundraising for Reach Out Federal Way and for his exceptional generosity and community spirit. Signed this 20th day of May 2014, the Federal Way Mayor and City Council. So I'll tell you, I'm very proud of Jesse, who's actually my great nephew, for the generosity he showed in giving all of his birthday money away for this charity. Jesse, this is a really big deal. I don't know of many other 8-year-olds who would do something like this and be so generous for the homeless people in our city and in our area. But you know, knowing you, this isn't unusual because you do all kinds of generous things with your friends and your family, so I'm really proud of you. And I'd also like to thank the other members of Team Jesse, of course, his mom and dad and brother and grandma. And there's other members as well. And Jesse's friends, who were the ones who really donated these funds, but it was Jesse who had to give them to the charity and get them. So anyway, lastly, for all other young people in the audience, I really would like to encourage you to follow Jesse's lead and get involved in something worthwhile and some worthy cause. It's easy to do and it's fun. And it's always, of course, very important to those who are on the other end of getting these funds. So I'll come down and present the certificate to young Jesse. Congratulations, Jesse. Okay, and we also have Nancy Janicki and Shelley Pauls of the Reach Out Federal Way organization that would like to say something too.
I had the privilege of meeting Jesse just before the meeting and asked his permission if I could read the letter that he wrote that night. And I wanted to tell you, as one of the volunteers who organized that fundraiser, how much we appreciated your contribution and this wonderful letter. It says, "Dear Reach Out Federal Way, my name is Jesse Winkler. I just turned 8 years old. I'm in 2nd grade at Browns Point Elementary, and for my birthday party, instead of presents, I asked my friends to donate money to Reach Out Federal Way. I've always been concerned about homeless people. This is the 3rd time I've donated to Roller Mania. I will miss it this year because I will be on vacation, but I wanted to make sure you have this money. Sincerely, Jesse Winkler. And my favorite line in there was, I have always been concerned about homeless people. And on behalf of all the volunteers and the people at the shelter, I wanted to just say thank you for not just being concerned and having the thought, but taking the time and energy and putting some action. And I think you're a great leader who's very compassionate. We're going to keep an eye on you because I think you're going to do some awesome things in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jesse, for your caring nature and for paying it forward. What we like to do and reach out is at our fundraiser in September, it's going to be September 9th, is to talk about people in the community like you who do pay it forward. So you're a great example, and I know you're going to go far in life, and thank you for caring for others.
Thanks, Jesse. We're proud of you. All right. Thank you, Councilmember Selski. Municipal Court Student Art Contest winners, Judge Larson. If you could approach the podium, along with Judge Rebecca Robertson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. On my behalf and Judge Robertson's behalf and all the court staff's behalf, it's an honor and privilege to be here tonight to present the winners of the art contest. But before I do that, this is the 5th year, and Judge Robertson and I are up here handing out these awards. But just like what happens in court, our staff does all the work and we get to do all the talking. But the Arts Commission actually is the one that makes this, that breathes life into this. And so I'd like all the members of the Arts Commission to stand up and be recognized for your work and screening all of the. Is anybody from the Arts Commission? Or everybody's standing already? Countless hours of judging the contestants and coming up with the winners, and I'm sure it's not an easy task. How many entrants do we have this year total? 35. 35, good, excellent. And so it's our honor tonight to give the awards out for the 1st through 3rd place. And as we announce your name, please come forward. But before I do that, I want to explain what the theme. It's liberty and justice for all. Tonight we said the pledge and the Pledge of Allegiance, that we end with liberty and justice for all. But it means much more than that for Judge Robertson and I. Because for us, liberty and justice, you can't have one without the other. We're in the liberty and justice business. We have to deliver justice and liberty at the same time. And so that's why that theme has been the theme for the last 5 years, and why it'll continue to be. Because that's what we all have to remember in life, that the way we treat each other, the way we live our lives is a definition of who we are, but it also preserves freedom when we treat people with justice and we exercise our liberty in meaningful ways and in responsible ways. So that is the reason for that theme. So with that, I'm going to start with the elementary schools. And when you hear your name come up, and Judge Robertson will present you the certificate, and just stand up front. We'll get a group picture at the end. So it's my honor and a privilege for 3rd place in elementary, it's Leigh Castro, 5th grader at Wildwood Elementary. Come on up. Congratulations. And just hold your, when you come up, hold your art right in front of you. Thank you. Next, 2nd place is Connor Frank, 5th grader at Brigadoon. And for our 1st place winner in the elementary school category, it's Joanna Ott, the 5th grader at Enterprise Elementary. And now we're going to move to the middle school recipients. Matthew Arnold is third place at, he's an 8th grader at my alma mater, Sacagawea. Come on up. And not that I won't forgive the people that went to Lakota and who are the next two recipients, but second place winner is Alexandra Peterson, the 7th grader at Lakota. Congratulations. The first place winner in the middle school category is Daniela Eason, 7th grader at Lakota. Congratulations to the middle school recipients. Now we're going to move to the high school winners, and the second place winner is Rachel Arnold, a junior at Federal Way High School, again, my alma mater. So come on up. And our first place winner in the high school category is Mary Ibrahimi, a freshman at Federal Way High School. And so here's our 2014 recipients, and Judge Robertson and I will join them for a photo, and any of the council members want to join us too.
Yeah. Can we have everybody maybe back up a little bit? So can you guys come back here? And then squeeze this way. This way.
To your right.
Other way.
To your right.
This way, this way. All right. Congratulations. Good job, you guys.
And their art will be displayed in the courthouse for the next year, and the past recipients get moved into the different courtrooms, so anybody that wants to come and look at the history of the contest can come down to the court anytime, and we'll take you on a guided tour.
That's great.
Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Your
I
Honors.
appreciate it.
Really
Thanks.
appreciate you coming up.
Yep.
And great job to all the winners. Okay, now we've got a, let's see here. Carol, do you have the proclamation? Not here. Oh, there it is. There we go. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll let them file out, and we've got another presentation ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and read a proclamation, then I'm going to have John, go ahead and come on up to the podium. John Wilde is a very good friend of mine and a very good friend of the city of Federal Way. He's got a real heart for and real concern for this community, as evidenced by his service many times during the holiday season for food banks. And the tragedy in Korea was something that each and every one of us were horrified by what we saw on television and the news accounts with the capsizing and the sinking of that ferry boat that took many young lives. And John has a special presentation he wants to make, which I think will have a very significant impact. But before we have John's presentation, and John, do you have some folks to help you as well?
I do.
We'll have it. Why don't we stage them close to you? Because after I read the proclamation, let's get them close. All right.
Okay.
All right. So maybe they can get up close to you, because they've got a lot of work to do in the time that we've got. So why don't I go ahead and read the proclamation, then I'll turn it over to you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. City of Federal Way, proclamation, sinking of the MV Sewol. Whereas the April 16, 2014 sinking of the MV Sewol off the coast of South Korea took the lives of 281 passengers, 1 sailor and 1 rescue diver, and whereas many of the deaths were secondary school students, and whereas the tragedy and loss of life is keenly felt in the city of Federal Way, which has many Korean American residents and enjoys strong ties to the Republic of South Korea, Now, therefore, we, the undersigned mayor and city council of the city of Federal Way, do hereby express our condolences to the government of the Republic of South Korea and to the families and individuals who lost loved ones in the disaster. Signed this 20th day of May, 2014, Federal Way Mayor and City Council. And so, John, why don't you take it from here?
Okay. After the proclamation, can we just take a moment of silence for them?
Of course.
Well, good evening, Mayor Jim Farrell, Deputy Mayor Gene Burbidge, and City Council members. It's my sincere pleasure to stand before you today on the day that the city presents a proclamation acknowledging the loss of life on the Sewol-ho Ferry in South Korea. I want to restate my reasons and intention for organizing sympathy card signing events. My heart was tugged on, and I felt a strong emotion of heartbreak as I pictured my son and my daughter, who are here with me today, possibly texting me or sending me videos of their last moments while sinking on the boat. This also reminded me that I lived alongside of Koreans here in Federal Way and surrounding areas for the past 17 years, and that I should do something to let the families in South Korea know that Federal Way and its surrounding area cares, and I'm sure I did not feel alone in this. So I began to reach out to others for help. I had quick responses from local businesses and even all the way from Tacoma and Bellevue. I want to take a moment and acknowledge those who really made this happen. If you're here today, when you or your organization is called, please go up forward and help with the laying out of the banners, and Life Academy is going to come out now and help putting them down on the ground, if that's okay.
Yes, please do that while John talks. John, how many banners do we have?
We have 36 as of today, 2 more just came in. So Federal Way High School, who's not on my list, also did a signing, and Lake Grove showed up with another one, so they had filled out 2. We have 1 banner with just pictures from all the events there. Also, we had Mark and Minyong Malosha, who she came and helped. Scott, sorry. Scott and Minyong Malosha they came to every Korean speaking event and helped translate everything that we were doing. So I'd like to say thanks to them too. If you could help them, that would be awesome. I'd also like to thank Lake Grove Elementary, who is here today, Mrs. Carolyn Euchre and her staff. Please come up and help. They donated 40 sheets of paper and let us have the paper to do this. If it wasn't for that paper, we wouldn't be able to do this. I'd like to recognize Life Academy of Puget Sound, who is down here on the floor. The student council president is here, Joseph Green, the treasurer, my son Jacob, and his sister Grace, and then the principal of the school, Lance Bilyeu. They also had a parent signing event at the school at the spring teacher student evening. I'd also like to recognize Albert's manager, Dave Hardy, who is here, if he would come up and help us. He opened up 2 days on 2 separate weekends to let us reach out to the community so the people that came in and shopped would be able to do this. I'd also like to thank Walmart on 3/12, manager Dirk and HR representative Brenda. Radio Hankook, who is also here today, I'd like to thank them. Mrs. Jean Su, the president, Mr. Song Hong, the general manager, and Daniel Lee, the news director, and Doris Han for broadcasting, reporting all signing events to the Korean community and translating the interviews for the Korean community to understand why the events were taking place. eMart on 3/20th, allowing for a signing event on 2 separate days on 2 separate weekends to reach the Korean community. Thanks to Song Ki Kang, the president, and Chol Wang Lee, the manager, for making this happen. I'd also like to thank the Koreans Women's Association for all the yellow ribbons at the eMart event and pinning on those who are willing to come, and here's a sample of the yellow ribbons. I'd like to thank Sandra England and her volunteer efforts at eMart as well. I'd also like to recognize Rose Eel for opening her farmer's market and allowing us to come despite logistics of not being able to make it. She made it available to us. I'd like to recognize H Mart on 312th for opening their doors on 2 separate days on 2 separate weekends. Mr. Cho and Mr. James Lees, the store manager, and Mr. Jay Sung for making this happen. In the back, if maybe Mr. Andy Wong would bring the box up here with the other cards in it. Mail Copy and More donated the 36 by 12 by 5 number 14 box and came up with quotes and is willing to mail it at the costs that are listed on the paper. New Hope International Church in Bellevue opened up their doors and had us come to a signing event as well. So I'd like to thank Pastor Daw and Pastor Lau. And last but not least, the City of Federal Way staff, the Federal Way Police Department, Chief Andy Wong, and Jim Farrell and their staff for opening up their doors at the signing events and agreeing to pay the shipping to send these to Don Juan High School. It should be noted that Don Juan High School has been contacted. They were a little bit surprised as to the amount of sympathy cards that were becoming because they usually are getting mail, not this huge amount of mail from one spot. So in 2 weeks' time after they received it, they've asked for a phone call back from us so that they could tell us where they placed us and send us pictures or continue to work with us on where they've went. So last but not least, I would really like to thank the City of Federal Way residents and everybody who really made this happen. This is it's a tragic thing. And hopefully they can find some comfort in the words that they read and find some peace and know that people care. That's my hope. So thank you, everybody, for making this happen.
Thank you, John. Yes. Yeah, John, you know, we're all connected, everybody on this planet, and this just shows the outpouring of love and support by people here on this side of the ocean to the people who are facing just that unknowable level of grief. So thank you so much. This is a tremendous testament to the goodwill in this country and the people here for those families. So should we get down on the other side, you guys, and take a picture? Because we're going to send this picture off to our friends in South Korea. All right.
I guess all 36 would make it, huh?
And John, you say we're going to send these off to the high school?
Don Juan High School. The
Okay.
address is,
All right. And you've got it all packaged for us?
yeah, we're going to re-roll them up for you.
Okay.
And then and leave them for you.
And we're going to put a picture in there?
Right here, mail copy yours, already has the quote on the paper. If you've seen it, if you want to finish it.
Okay. John, thank you again. Let's see everybody give a round of applause. Okay. Puts everything in perspective. Federal Way Rotary donation for Funland. Ken Miller. While he's making his way there, remember that myself and Deputy Mayor Burbidge, many individuals in the community were present, along with Brian Wilson, our Chief of Staff, at the Rotary auction in Tacoma, in which I believe $54,000 was raised in one evening for the Ability Wheel. And Councilmember Moore was there, who's been a major proponent of this over the years, and we'll just talk about a testament of the community. And Councilmember Maloney, that's right, exactly. Help me out, everybody. Just a real testament to people in this community caring about one another and reaching out, and this is a really historic thing. And the goal was to raise $40,000 to my estimation for the goal. Is Dave Berger here? Dave Berger in the back of the room, who was a member of the Blue Ribbon Panel, was a real leader. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but Ken's going to do it. But I have to tell you, when I was there on that night, on that Saturday night, with many of my colleagues, I was blown away with the generosity of the people of this community toward other people in this community that may not have the ability to play on a regular. And I know it's a real passion on Councilmember Moore's behalf. So with all that being said, Ken Miller, our interim Parks Director, who needs a name tag. All right, I got it right this time. I got it written down.
You did.
All right, Ken.
Thank you, Mayor Farrell and Deputy Mayor, council members. Family Funland at Steele Lake Park is just an incredible play structure. And tonight we're thanking Rotary for their donation. All I wanted to do was introduce Steve Eichert, our parks manager, and who was instrumental in construction of this project, and along with Jason Gerwin and our parks maintenance crew. But yeah, Steve has a PowerPoint for you.
I said that. Oh, I got it. Took care of it.
So the policy question before you tonight is, should the council accept a donation from the Federal Way Rotary Service Foundation in the amount of $54,700 to be used for an Ability Whirl and other ADA improvements in the Family Funland renovation project, and also allow naming rights to the Ability Whirl feature? Give you a little bit of background. We started this project really about 3 years ago, when we've been working with the Park Commission. As a normal standard business, every year we evaluate the playgrounds throughout the city and determine which playgrounds need to be renovated or replaced. We studied the Family Funland, and we realized that we were going to need a significant more amount of money than we normally have in an annual basis, so we began collecting money over a 2-year period. So we worked with the Parks Commission and the subcommittees and the public, and came up with this design. After we got estimates on this design, I might back up and just say that part of this design was a strong desire to indeed have some of those ability features for all users, and if at all possible, a strong emphasis on any way that a wheelchair could actually engage, get on. Staff did a lot of research and searched high and low, and discovered that wasn't as simple as we thought it was going to be, that there's many features out there the wheelchair can go up to and participate on and even transfer onto, but there's not very many that a wheelchair can physically get right on and participate. We did find one at the last minute, and it's called the Ability Whirl. So that was part of this design feature, along with many other, over 20 other features that a wheelchair can go up and participate with. We did cost estimates on this design and discovered that it was way over the capacity of what our budget was. So we began deciding, well, okay, how can we phase this project? Can we do the main core, redo the play structure, and then maybe do the sidewalk and the Ability World later? The way it was laid out, it was very feasible to do that as an option. However, some of our park commissioners involved with Rotary and other service groups went out to the service groups, and Rotary stepped up to the plate and said, you know what, it's not acceptable. We want that item, and we're willing to do what it takes to take that off the option list. So that's where we are today. Let me just tell you what the Ability World is. We found this actually in the UK. We couldn't find any in the United States or Canada, and we had to go there, but they've been doing this particular whirl for about 4 years now, and it's been holding up and doing real well. This particular model that we purchased can handle 2 wheelchairs. These green gates open up and allow the wheelchair to go in and then close behind them. You see the red seats beside them, and I'll show you a picture here in a minute, where the caregiver can actually sit and participate with the person in a wheelchair. So this is the site at Funland today under construction. You'll see back here in this area, there's a round area that the Ability World will go. And I'm pleased to announce to Rotary today that I just got word that the Ability World has landed in Seattle, and they should be delivering it to us the next day or two. I might make note, as long as I'm on this picture, that this arch is new, in which we're going to actually show Family Funland. We've always called that over the last 20 years Family Funland, but it's never been recognized or designated, so we're actually going to put it on the arch. Also on these arch side panels, we're going to show history of donors, and on the front side, we're going to show many other donors, such as H. David Kaplan, who's donating 4 tables, and many other businesses and volunteer hours we're going to recognize on those front panels as well. But the Rotaries who are really pleased with the donation that they're... So this is a picture of an actual Ability World in action over in the UK. And you'll see it's level so they can go right onto it. That's where our feature will have the same. That green will be a rubber product in our site. As the donation refers to it, they raised more money than what the Ability World costs, so they wanted to put it towards other features. This is just an example of some of the other features that will be on that sidewalk that they can go up to and engage in. So the second half of the policy question is naming rights, and this is the sign that we've worked out with the Rotary upon your approval. And this is how it will read, the Rotary Ability World, and then in the middle section talks about the significant donors, and then just the cities thanking them for their donation, and then just a little statement of how to use the Ability World and provide for comfort and safety for those using it. So that is my presentation at this time. So there are the 2 policy questions around it, and at one point here we'd like to ask Jody Gladden, the president of the Rotary, and any other Rotarians to come forward at this time. Or unless you have questions, I'm sorry.
Councilmember, do we have any questions? And I know that we've got this on our agenda item later on in the meeting. Any other? Why don't we just do the presentation, and we've got this on business for later. So go ahead and let's have them come up.
Okay, Jody and other Rotarians.
And we've got a presentation. And then do we have Chris? There we go.
You want to go up front?
Yeah, let's go up front. How are you? Good to see you. Yeah, thank you. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for coming. Come on in. Sir, how are you? Good. Come on up. Hey. Let's center up with you guys. Can you guys stand as well, and we'll get you guys the picture.
He didn't come in and say.
Let's have everybody. Let's balance it out. Okay, now, item E, we've got the ceremonial oaths of office for police officers. Chief Wong.
Good evening, Mayor Farrell, Deputy Mayor Burbidge, and members of the council. It's my privilege to introduce to you the newest members of the police department, and these officers will be given their oath of office tonight. First to my left is Officer Charlie Hinkle. Officer Hinkle is an entry-level police officer. He graduated from the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission Police Academy on April 15th of this year. Officer Hinkle grew up in Oregon, earned his BA in social work with a minor in Spanish at the University of Portland. Officer Hinkle left his job as a bilingual youth counselor at the Homeland Security Detainment Center to join us. Officer Hinkle currently lives in Seattle with his wife, Sarah. Next to Officer Hinkle is Steve Davis. Officer Davis is also an entry-level police officer and also graduated from the Police Academy on April 15th. Officer Davis grew up in Virginia and joined the Air Force to see the world, eventually being stationed at Fairchild Air Force Base. Due to downsizing, Officer Davis decided to change careers and decided to pursue a career in law enforcement. After talking with few Federal Way police officers, he was impressed enough to take our test and join the Federal Way police family. Officer Davis lives in Federal Way with his wife, G, and their son, Christian. And to my far left is Officer Lee Letty. Officer Letty is a lateral police officer, and we are pleased to welcome him back to the Federal Way Police Department. Officer Letty has 20 years of police experience and founding member and a lieutenant until he left our agency in 2009 to work as a law enforcement consultant for a contractor in Iraq and Afghanistan. At the end of his tour, Officer Letty came back to Washington and wanted to return to police work in Federal Way. Officer Letty is fluent in Spanish. Officer Letty and his wife, Beth, have 2 grown sons, and they live in Graham. And Carol, if you're here, hey, gentlemen, if you could just maybe swing around the front here, she'll give you your oath.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear. That I am a citizen of the United States. And the state of Washington. That I will support the Constitution. And the laws of the United States. And the Constitution. And the laws of the state of Washington. And will, to the best of my judgment, skill and ability, truly, faithfully, diligently and impartially, perform the duties of police officer, in and for the City of Federal Way, County of King, State of Washington, as such duties are prescribed by law. So help me God. Congratulations.
All right, thanks, Chief. Congratulations, officers. Next, item F, certificates of appointment for the Parks and Recreation Commission. Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. At the May 6th City Council meeting, the council reappointed Mike Hoeffel, David Wilson, and P.K. Thumby to the Parks and Recreation Commission. If you're here tonight, can you walk up to the podium, please? I know P.K.'s here. I will read this certificate and I'll bring it down to you, P.K. Certificate of Appointment. In accordance with Ordinance 00-366, the City of Federal Way Mayor and the City Council certifies that P.K. Thumby is hereby appointed to serve as a voting member of the Parks and Recreation Commission for a term to expire April 30th of 2017, dated this 20th day of May 2014, signed by our Mayor and the City Council.
Okay, PK Thombe, thank you so much. I think first of all, is to thank God for giving me this opportunity to be here. And of course, to thank the city council members for giving me this opportunity to serve the city. This is a community I love so much, and I'm willing to do as much as I can just to help the community grow. So thank you very much, and God bless you. Thank you.
All right. Now in regard to Mayor's Emerging Issues and my report, we had the Mayor's Blue Ribbon Panel give its report on May 8th in this very chamber. I want to let everybody know that this council, this community owes the 9 members of the Mayor's Blue Ribbon Panel a very large debt of gratitude for the amount of work that they put into this. They generated a 139-page report. I would encourage every person in Federal Way to go to our city website, locate the report, and thumb through it. The other thing is that, of course, we are actively engaging in New Day Federal Way and additional programming on Channel 21 to make sure that the people in this community can see a lot more of what's happening out in the community. But in step with that, I ask that special city council meeting, normally special meetings like the one we had before this meeting, are not replayed over and over. Because of the importance of this proposal, I have asked our IT personnel to ensure that 2.5-hour meeting, I think it's 2 hours and 45 minutes that we actually, just a little shy of 3 hours, be replayed over and over and over on Channel 21, so as many of the people of this community that can see it will see it, because this is something that we as a community have been debating for nearly 10 years now about whether we're going to engage and build the Performing Arts and Conference Center. What we really needed, obviously, was objective financial criteria, and not a recommendation to build or not to build, but about finding the financial metrics that we can all agree on in regard to what those objective metrics were, and then move forward with a policy decision. After all this time, I can say that we are now in a position in which the next city council meeting, this will be up. The Performing Arts and Conference Center will be up for a yes or no vote on June 3rd of this year, our very next city council meeting. So I would encourage everyone to engage on this issue, to let us know what your thoughts are, and it's a very detailed report. I'd like to say a very special thank you to Brian Wilson for all his work, for working with the Blue Ribbon Panel. I'd like to thank the council for its leap of faith in the creation of this panel and supporting it as we move forward. And we actually then had a large meeting that day, and then before this city council meeting, we actually had a follow-up meeting in which we had a presentation from Patrick Doherty. Patrick, I'd like to thank you for all your work on this. We're obviously going to have that meeting on June 3rd, in which we're all working very hard to get that all teed up for the major policy question about proceeding or not. So let's see here. So that was, I thought that was all good. And on May 15th, I believe it was last Thursday, we had a visit from Hachinohe, our sister city delegation, our sister city from the city of Japan, Hachinohe, the mayor Kobayashi, and several of his colleagues visited us. We had a meeting in here, then we took a tour of the community center, and then we went down to Dumas Bay for lunch. I'd like to thank all the staff, our sister city, Mark Freitas, who was very helpful in coordinating that. And actually, if you go to our website, you can see some pictures of that exchange. And it was great. They've got all kinds of things that they wanted to share with us, one of which was a liquid natural gas. Was that the LNG? It was a very interesting proposal. They had been to a number of sites throughout the West Coast, and we were the last stop before they returned home. So that was very productive, and it's always fun to see our sister city delegation. It's been 20 years now. Town Square Park update. We've got Ken Miller, our interim parks director, making his way to the podium. He's going to give us an update. We are scheduled to open up our very first Town Square Park, hopefully July 4th weekend. Right, Ken?
Correct. Correct, yeah. Sorry about that.
But I'm bummed.
Well, good evening again. It's very exciting to see this transformation happening or starting to happen in the downtown. Work is beginning this week. Equipment has been ordered. These colors have been chosen. On the screen, I don't know if they come out quite as well as they do. You know, we've got some dark blues and some paprika and some other colors. So there's some, you know, translation, some oranges and some blues and some greens in here. So we have these colors. It's exciting. Things are going to happen. I think, as the mayor said, things will happen fast. The contractor seems like they or does know what they're doing and has started off very well. And if there aren't any questions, I was going to just give a brief update on the demolition of the Toys R Us building.
Can you show us where the grass is going to be?
Oh, yeah. I guess one thing we didn't do green, we were just looking at the paint with this one, is, yeah, this area here is the grass on this big square. It turned out we could get a little more grass area in there than what we'd anticipated. There's also these picnic benches here, the chess sets here. These are the pea patches, basketball, half court, full court, the maze, the labyrinth, the tree, and parking, and we have some access, some pedestrian access down the middle.
And we're going to slurry seal the parking lot and then the area, the whole southern portion, essentially.
Correct. The whole park area will be slurry sealed. The areas that get painted, we won't slurry. We'll probably slurry seal like the green areas where you see the swirls, but these areas will be the basketball court won't be slurry sealed, but everything else will be slurry sealed, so it will look all one color and everything.
Now, the center color thing in the bottom right-hand corner, we talked about maybe going one step out for additional splash of color.
Correct, and I have an updated plan which I didn't have time to upload to the council file here, but as the mayor mentioned, we are looking at making this a blue similar to the basketball court. So this whole ring here will be blue.
Okay.
And we're working with the contractor on that. We've already got our sign permit, and work has started on the sign out here on 20th Avenue. These are a bunch of planters all the way around here. And along here, there's a bunch of concrete planters with plants, and we've also got some plantings on the entrances. Also, we put in a water and a power line over to the tree, and this contract will extend that water and power over to here. Water won't be an issue to get over to here. We should be able to get that relatively quickly. The power will probably be like phase 2 later on in the year. We'll probably be talking to council again on the power, because the power has to come from here, and there's no transformers. So we'll be talking a little bit more about power.
Councilmember Honda.
Will the tree be planted this summer then?
We did. Steve Eicher did purchase the tree already, and the city crew will plant it after the park is kind of turned over to us, maybe before we paint or something. But yeah, the intention is to get that planted. We do have the tree already.
So will we be able to use it this year during the holiday season to decorate it?
I don't see why. Well,
we need power.
Yeah, we could potentially use a generator if it was a short time or something like that. But yeah, could you use it this holiday season? Yes, you could. It would probably mean a generator. We have a couple of decent-sized generators, part of our emergency management services, so we do have power available.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just heard an idea, and I just wanted to bring it up to Ken, and that's what are your 2 cents in putting a fence around the basketball courts to provide a more secure in and out? Just wanted to kind of get your 2 cents on that.
I wouldn't put one up at this time. Maybe as we see how they're used and everything, maybe it would become that. But I don't see a need for them. But if one came up, we could do that at a future date.
There's already sort of a barrier that we're not worried about the ball going into traffic, right? I mean, isn't there?
There's a fence already
Yeah.
along 21st Avenue, along here. I think it's 4 feet. There's a fence all the way along this property line. And then with the retaining wall, there's also a retaining wall here. So if they're that bad a shot, they shouldn't be on there, I guess.
They can run off the court.
Yeah, that's right. They lose.
That's right. Councilmember Duclos.
Where's the bocce court?
No, the bocce court was victim to the bigger grass area. If that could also be added in the future if we felt the need to do that. And we have had some input on the bocce court.
And, Councilmember Selsky?
Just a quick question. Can you show up there, Ken, where the vehicle entrance is?
There are 2 entrances. There's one here, so this entrance here, and you could drop people off for the picnic area, and then you'd come around and park. And there's also an entrance here, so that both the entrances are on 20th Avenue. One here, 2 entrances.
Okay.
Both going into the park. One goes into the parking lot. The other one goes along the front of the picnic area and the pea patch.
And are they wide enough to accommodate vehicles going both ways, entering and exiting?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay,
they're pretty good size.
Okay, thank you.
Now, we talked a little bit earlier today, we're going to have some sort of contest or some sort of mural for that back wall.
Yeah, that's correct. We've talked about when the contractor gets a little further along, we're going to pressure wash this wall, and then we'll put a primer on it or something, and then the thought would be maybe the schools or some organizations would be interested in, maybe there'd be a contest or something like that to paint the walls, several different murals.
Councilmember Honda and then Duclos.
What's the decision on the stairs at this point?
We did take a look at the stairs today. They were covered in ivy, so we couldn't see the 2 top stairs, which we think are the concern. So we did visit them, and what we need to do is get in there and clear the ivy off and visually inspect them. And what we remember is the top 2 stairs would have to be potentially removed and replaced.
Yeah, and that's a priority for us, to activate, so people can come and go from that thing. Councilmember Duclos.
Yeah, my question is, what can we do to protect against other kinds of artists, such as graffiti?
The transit center is over here, and there are some cameras on the transit center that we think we can point in this direction. So part of the Safe City camera thing, we can monitor this park. Whether how often they're monitored. I suppose the issue would probably be at night, I assume. So
yeah,
maybe they could be monitored at night, and with the precinct close by, we think we can keep a good eye on it.
Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Thank you. It's my understanding that there are coatings that can be put over murals to make it easier to clean off any graffiti that might occur. And I'm wondering if we might look into that as a possibility.
We do on our retaining walls we put along the roads. We've got a fractured fin finish. We do put a sealer on there, which helps a lot with removing the graffiti. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And then we talked maybe about additional color sort of coming out of the swirl pattern in the center. You had an idea about getting people to?
So we were talking about maybe in the future or relatively soon, potentially some of these other swirls could be painted. We could get some paint and paint these, whatever color, the orange or the paprika or the blues or whatever. So, between the murals and the the labyrinth and the swirls. It should bring a lot of color and a lot of interest, I think, to the park. A lot of people with the grass area and the picnic area. I think it'll be a very attractive and a gathering place. I think it'll be a gathering place for the citizens to come maybe on the weekend and sit down for a while.
All right.
I have one last question.
Yeah, Councilmember Honda.
One last question, Ken. I'm very excited that something is happening in downtown and that the park is going to be there this summer and be usable. But we are still trying to sell half of that property, right?
That's my understanding, yes.
Yep.
Would it help if we had a sign somewhere on the location saying that it's for sale? The school district did that at the bus barn and they sold it.
I'm not, yeah.
I know that's not your answer, but your issue, but I'm just wondering.
Right.
I want to make sure that developers know that this is still for sale, even though we have partially developed it.
And maybe as you see more development go on, it might be worth putting something up there, a good-looking sign maybe that, doesn't distract from the park.
Okay. All right. Now let's move. I'm sorry. Councilmember Sefadasa.
My question is regarding restrooms. If you're going to have anything like porta potties or whatever, where would they be placed?
Yeah, that we will be installing some porta potties at the park. We haven't got down to the details exactly where, but our intention is as soon as it opens to put in porta potties. Yes.
Okay, and then my other question is programming. Like if people want to reserve the space for basketball or any other events, who's responsible for that?
If we do program it, it will be out of the community center, our recreation division. John Hutton will program it. Typically, we wouldn't program it. We don't program the outside basketball courts. We do program picnic areas, obviously, and maybe if the picnic area became an issue, there's quite a few there. If it became an issue, we could start programming it, but it would be out of the recreation department and out of community center.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Council, any other questions? All right. Now let's go to the Toys R Us demolition.
Okay, another exciting project is the demolition for the Toys R Us building, which is directly north of this project, overlooking the project. You can see it from the park, or you'll be able to see it for a little while from the park. Bids are out as we speak. They will be opened in 1 week. It will go to the June 3rd council for award. The low bidder, we are anticipating getting the goal is to get it demolished by July 3rd. We did find a little bit of asbestos in the caulk for the roof along the parapet, but I don't anticipate it affecting cost or time. So that was the only little disappointing part about it. But it is on track. We open bids in a week. Council June 3rd. Demolished or pretty much demolished by July 3rd.
Council, I want to let you know that in consultation with Councilmember Duclos, Chair of the Finance and Economic Development Committee, or FEDREC Committee, that we're bypassing the committee process to be able to bring this to the bid approval to the June 3rd meeting, so we can move on this with all deliberate speed and hopefully get it. Well, what do you think our target date is for knocking the building down?
July 3rd is the target date.
For it actually coming down?
Correct. Well, to be completely down, we're going to start around probably the 10th of June, something like that.
Okay.
Is the hope.
So maybe we'll have some sort of, public, not ceremony, but sort of event as far as the first brick to get knocked down. Exactly.
Yeah, we're thinking a wrecking ball.
Put it on your calendars.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Yeah. These two projects, the Toys R Us site, just so everybody knows, is the site of and has been renamed the proposed Performing Arts and Conference Center site. And so that we've made the decision to, and this council has already approved, knocking down the Toys R Us building because frankly the building detracts from the value of the land regardless of what we do with it at this point. So it is really, what we're doing right now, we own these 8 acres in our downtown, and we're talking about the activation of our downtown, town square and the PAC site, proposed PAC site. We have our next presentation, our Interim Public Works Director, Marwan Saloom, talking about paving and overlay update. As many of you have seen, we've got a lot of work going on, and I wanted to make sure that you were updated as far as progress and status.
Good evening, Mayor Farrell, Deputy Mayor Burbidge, and Council Member. To give you a quick update on our schedule for the paving. What I'm gonna try to do is show you some of our projects. We have mainly 3 contractors doing work within the city as we speak. They are mainly pavement project. The first one is 320th Preservation Project. This is a project that we had to bid it separately away from the overlay due to the fact that we have federal money in that project. So that project on 320th between I-5 and 11th Avenue South. The second project is a project, the leftover from last year. If you recall, last year we were working on the improvement of 21st Avenue and Southwest 336. We could not finalize the paving due to the weather and the temperature, and we had to delay the paving to 2014, and the contractor at the present time scheduled to do that project. The other paving project is the 2014 asphalt overlay. And that project identified in red, and also that project is going on as we speak. The schedule for those projects, the first one is the 320th Preservation Project. Most of the work on that project being done at night. As a matter of fact, tonight after the council meeting, if you drive on 320th, you're going to see them doing some work there and mainly doing the channelization, installing curb in the middle of the roadway. So currently they are working on installing the curb, channelization, and island. The final striping, with all of our project, striping normally take about 21 days before we could place it after we overlay. And the reason for that, the asphalt have to cure before we can place the material on top of it. So most of the striping normally take about 3 weeks after the finishing of the overlay. So in this particular case, the installation of the long striping will be done on June 2nd, the week of June 2nd. It may take more than 1 day. It's going to take about 2 or 3 days. And this particular project should be completed no later than June 13th. The next project is 21st Avenue Southwest at Southwest 336. The contractor is preparing for the paving on this project. We are anticipating the paving to take place next week. That will be the week of May 27th through the 29th. And if they are not able to finish that week, they will finalize it the week after. The striping on that project, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be 3 weeks after the paving, and that should be taking place the week of June 16th. The pavement and the striping will be done at night for this project. We are anticipating final completion of that project on June 27th. The other project is the 2014 asphalt overlay. The schedule on that project, this is mainly, we have 2 major arterial streets, 356, Southwest 356, and Southwest 320th between 21st and 11th. And on 356, we are between the city limit on the west side and all the way to 15th Avenue Southwest. If you are driving or driven Southwest 356, you're going to see that all of the paving on that particular project has been completed. The striping is scheduled for June 9th, and that's being done during the day. And the reason we do that during the day because you have too many residential on both sides of that street, and it's very difficult to do night work with all of the noise that could be generated from the construction. The second schedule is Schedule B and C. This is the Southwest 320th, and we are scheduled to pave tomorrow night and Thursday night. So please avoid that area if you can during the day. The work will be done between the hour of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. And that section of the road would be restricted to one lane in each direction, and that's normally caused quite a bit of delay. So if you could avoid it, please do so. Schedule D is 11th Avenue Southwest. The paving on that project, or the work on that project, have not even started, and normally they start with the upgrade of all of the sidewalk and the ADA ramp, and the work will be starting next week. We are scheduled for paving the week of June 16th through the 19th, and the final striping on June 24th. And the work will be done during the day on that particular project. And the last project we have in the overlay is Schedule F, which is the South 352nd Street project. This is a street right next to Costco, between Costco and Home Depot. It's mainly from the I-5 all the way to Enchanted Parkway. And the paving on that project is scheduled on July 7th. The work on that particular project is going to be night work, and even with the night work, it might be a little bit of a challenge with all of the business traffic that generated for both Costco and Home Depot. I'm more than happy to answer any question that you may have.
Council, any questions? All right. Thank you, Marwan. And if anybody has any questions or concerns about the overlay program, and just let us know. We've been responding to some emails, and thank you, Marwan, for your work on this. Okay, now it's time for citizen comment. We get 3 minutes unless you're speaking for a group, and I think we all know the rules. Mr. Phil Wamba. And on deck after that will be Gary Grant.
Good evening, Mayor Farrell and the fellow City Council. I'm here to speak in favor of the Performing Arts and Conference Center. Last year, I sent to the mayor and each council member a letter in which I commented on the PAC and its pros and cons. In summary, I said that in reality, the discussion was not about the PAC. It was really about what the city leadership was willing to actively support for the goal of a federal way that would be a magnet for people and businesses to want to come, live, and be a part of. For this city to achieve that goal would require a plan, supporting strategies, priorities, and timelines, then the specific activities and responsibilities and measurements for achievement, all right out of Management 101. So the first question to be answered was and is, does the city have an overarching goal and a supporting plan? Unless I've missed something, we do. It's the city's comprehensive plan developed in the 1990s, and I believe basically supported by the City Council and City Administration. In fact, Mr. Doherty took numerous quotes from that comprehensive plan when he gave background for the current PAC proposal to show that the PAC did indeed support. The question is not whether, but on what the city should risk committing significant resources. Now comes the question of leadership. The mayor and the council are, after all, the city's leadership and should reasonably be expected to lead. We as citizens have the right to expect our leadership to have goals for a better federal way, that they will be open and transparent about these goals, that they will take the time and make the effort to find the devils in the details for best use of the precious resource for those goals, and that they will actively use their time and talent in support of what that effort dictates. To their credit, I believe that our City Council has followed this path and that we are now on a critical juncture for moving forward with this city. For those who would want a vote of the citizenry to help make the decision, I would suggest that while on the face of it, it seems fair, it carries a very large implication. It implies that our citizenry has full knowledge and understanding of the city's comprehensive plan and of the hundreds of hours of studies, reports, presentations, and other details on the PAC, including the latest Blue Ribbon panel report, which runs to well over 100 pages. And all of this was provided and reviewed by city government. That makes that implication highly unlikely. And I submit that's a major reason why citizens have representative elective government.
All right. Thank you, Phil. Gary Grant. And after Gary, we've got Betty Taylor. Sir?
Good evening. My name is Gary Grant. Last time I spoke to you about a police report, and I complained about the information that was asked of people when they made those complaints. Since then, I've had the displeasure of having to get a officer's report, a report that the officers fill out and then you're able to get it. Well, those reports have all the information that the other report had with an addition. They list everybody's social security numbers that are involved in that except the officers. Now, I'm not telling you to include the officer. What I'm telling you is using people's information, social security numbers, is a responsibility that should be safeguarded by rules. If you look at the laws of the use of social security numbers, you will find that there are limitations. And even when you get that information, you, as a municipality, are required to safeguard that information. Having that information in a database that all officers can get into, and I don't know who else or what other departments have access to that, is not adhering to that. I know I did not, and I never would, give my social security number to any city, any officers, anything. So for you to get that information, one requirement is you apply for it. And in doing so, you obligate yourself and you do put yourself in a position of liability if you don't follow the rules. Now, I have heard that a lot of these reports, a lot of these forms have been gone over and approved by, blue ribbon committees. Well, somebody's missing the boat here. I dread digging deeper and then finding out that, well, are we collecting DNA now too? I mean, this has got to stop. My information, my private information, social security number being the most private thing that you have, should be protected. Why aren't we doing that?
Mr. Grant, thank you very much. And I've enjoyed our conversations, and I know that you've talked with our chief of staff as well. Before I have any comments or before I kick it over there, Councilmember Duclos.
Well, I just want to say that I just recently had a home invasion, and I got the police report, and I was really surprised to see my Social Security there. That's the one thing that criminals can get a hold of, and they can destroy your credit history in no time. And I was really shocked to hear that my Social Security number was on there. And I'm told that it's guarded and it's not given out if there's somebody that files a request for a copy. But there's no guarantee that that's going to happen. And I think we really need to look at that policy of collecting Social Security numbers.
All right. Well, you know, Chief, why don't we go with Chief Andy Wong, Police Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. The Police Department record management system, we do have Social Security numbers, and the numbers come from our contacts with citizens. We don't typically collect it today. However, through Department of Licensing records, we do have Social Security numbers of citizens, but it is safeguarded. When the report is released to the public on a PDA, we do redact it. We are very careful. And nobody has access to the police record management system unless they've been cleared with a criminal background check, limited to police department staff. So we do safeguard it, but this is not just Federal Way. Every police department has access to citizens' private records, but we're very careful about how it's released and how we maintain it. We are audited as well with that type of information.
So we're not giving out people's Social Security numbers?
No, and if it does happen, clearly it would be a mistake, but we do not release that.
Councilmember Honda.
Chief, why do we need the Social Security number? If we have their name, address, and phone number, why do we need that Social Security information?
Much of it is just automated. So once we have people's information, for example, when an officer completes a report, they'll use the, once they find the person, they don't always type in the person's name. Once they find the person in the Spillman record, they just click, and that information, the citizen information, is automatically downloaded into electronic report format. Officers don't write handwritten reports anymore. Everything is automated, electronically done.
So they push a button and then all the fields are populated automatically?
Yes, it's strictly for time-saving purposes. In fact, traffic tickets, traffic collision reports are all automated now. It's called Sector.
Some of it has to do with identification. I can tell you that, you know, my colleagues know what I did for 19 years, which is I worked as a prosecuting attorney. And there are a number of times in which you've got people with the exact same, you know, first name, middle name, last name. And you know, there are times in which we have actually, somebody with the exact same name gets charged with a crime because their information is confused with somebody else. So it is, and oftentimes it's a matter of trying to figure out, are we talking to the right people? So it's an identification issue. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a question.
Internally.
Thank you. Just a question on that. So, like a credit card type situation where some of the numbers are starred out and maybe the last four numbers are left. I wonder if we don't have the technology to do that in our system somehow. If it's printed, it comes out with stars rather than the Social Security number, or even on the screen to the viewers.
I'm not so sure I'm really prepared to answer that question. I just know that when we run people for warrants, WASC, through our DOL, I mean, Social Security number is readily available to the police. But that's not the only information we have on our citizens. But like I stated, we make sure we adhere to all the state guidelines that are regulated on how the information is used.
Okay.
Councilmember Duclos.
I just have one last thing. I don't want to beleaguer whatever. I don't want to go on tonight, but I think it's something that we might want to take a look at because somebody could get a hold of that report and see my Social Security number and could wipe me out. And, you know, so there's got to be some way that we can, the police can get what they need, but we can protect our citizens too. And I think maybe it's something that we need to look at.
Yeah, okay. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just take 2 seconds. I would concur with Councilmember Dean Duclos. Thank you.
Well, let me just explain that I've prosecuted countless cases, thousands upon thousands of cases. There are times in which you get somebody that gets booked for a car theft or an assault or a homicide, and they've got 10 different aliases. And every time they get booked, they use somebody else's name. They use their brother's name, their cousin's name, and so oftentimes the Social Security, it's about identification. And so, these numbers, I'm not, this is just, it's a law enforcement, and it doesn't sound like we're necessarily taking them, but sometimes the information is important.
But when it's on a report,
Yeah.
and I ask for a copy of the report, and I get it, and I see my Social Security number on there, who else is going to ask for a copy of that and maybe see my Social Security and may not get redacted? That's the issue. So I just think we need to look at it and maybe put some tighter policies in place.
All right.
May I, please?
Go ahead, Ms. Grant.
The way that systems are set up with the technology that we have, that information can be put in a database that can be accessed by certain people. You can fix your system so that that information does not automatically appear. If that information is needed for identification purposes, you can take the extra step and not be lazy to protect the rest of the citizens by going into a different phase of that database and get that information. Now, everybody's sitting up here talking about the conveniences and everything. I've been working with Adam Smith since 1998 trying to get not just this state, but everyone in the United States to stop using Social Security numbers for identification. It wasn't intended for that, and we have gotten lazy and are accepting the fact that it makes my job easy. I'm sorry. Your job being easy is not worth me and my life.
Mayor, if I could add something, this database is not accessible by just anyone. I can assure you that it's by police department staff, and when a report is released, it is redacted, it is screened by
people are very, or trained records manager who does that. And it's a national database. It's not a local issue. When you run somebody's fingerprint or you're running somebody for a warrant, it shows up on a national database, and there's very strict guidelines of who can run somebody's name, obtain that type of information. So I want to assure the mayor and council and the citizens here that it's very protected information. We're very cautious about what gets released.
All right, thank you, Chief. I thank you, Mr. Grant, for coming today. Betty Taylor. And after Betty, we've got Norma Blanchard. Okay, great.
My name is Betty Taylor, longtime resident of Better Way. I'm speaking on the May 8th, when the Blue Ribbon panel was together, and then there was time for like citizen comment. And I remember myself coming up to make a comment, and I started to read, and I started to read an article that was written from an editor in the newspaper. And during that time, I was interrupted by Mayor Jim Farrell and stuff. And I say that because I was in the store the other day, and I was just walking around the store, and a citizen came up to me and said, you know what, I watched the May 8th, the PAC panel, and they said, you know what, it seemed like they just cut you off. And so then it didn't really bother me. It didn't bother me. But then somebody else had said the same thing, but it still didn't bother me. But I just wanted to clarify that at no given time, the mayor it was not his intention to cut me off. You know, he does respect each and every citizen and stuff. And the article that I was trying to read, it was a long article. Maybe I could have condensed it some. But the point that I was trying to make was that the article consisted of the PAC pros and cons. And there were many, and some people thought that because of that article that I was for the PAC, because I just heard a lot of feedback from a lot of citizens after the fact. And so I just thought it was my duty to come in and kind of like clear the air to let everybody know at no given time did the mayor disrespect me at all. And I respect him very highly and stuff. So anyway, that's just my point. So that's just my point, just to say that that, you know, I can appreciate the citizens that did come and in respect to thinking that maybe I was being cut off, but I don't think I was being cut off. So I think that was not relayed. But when people see it on the video, that's what they see, and that's what they talk about. So that's all I got to say.
Thanks, Betty. Won't happen again. Promise. Norma.
I'm Norma Blanchard, longtime resident of Federal Way, and I'm here to talk against the PAC. Now, the survey that they were talking about was taken in 2008. 2008, we had 88,000 people in the city, and there was 3,000 of these sent out, but only 2,812 the people received it because they had wrong addresses, houses were empty. So 562 households responded, and then they made telephone calls. They made 1,819 telephone calls, and 400 responded to that. So you add it all together, it's 962. So in 2008, we had 88,000 people. You take 962 who answered the survey and the phone calls, and there's 87,023 people left that did not get a say into this. In 90, there was I mean, in 2013, there was 90,000 people. You take 962 away from that, and that's 80,138 people that didn't get a say into this. People of the city should have a say in this. Put it on the ballot in November. What are you afraid of? To me, that's political math. And if you watch Washington, D.C., you find out why. We're in a whole hell of a lot of trouble from that. Thank you.
Thank you, Norma. Tracy Hills.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council, and audience. How are you guys doing tonight? Last week, I watched the news, and I saw the county executive talking about Metro, and that each city can sign on with that. And I don't think that the city of Federal Way should do that, because, you know, I think Metro could do some cutting of themselves, because they keep giving raises to the people, like drivers and other people. I talked to a couple of you already tonight about this. And let the PAC go up to the voters. That's what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Devon, is it Loigans? Then H. David Kaplan.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Dawn Coggins, and I'm a 22-year resident of Federal Way. Yeah, I know the writing's bad. This is my first time talking to the council, and I'm here today to talk about the PAC. Like I think some of you, I in previous years was leaning against the PAC and have kind of been on the fence about it. But I did come to the last meeting with an open mind about the Blue Ribbon Panel's findings, and it was very impressive. As you stated, it was very thorough. The financials were surprisingly good, I thought. And it may not be the perfect project. I don't know if a perfect project really exists, but I think that it's a worthwhile project at a very good time. I think we're kind of at a crucial time for the economic future of our city, and I would urge you to have some vision and include pro-PAC in the overall vision for the downtown plan. And I would agree, a couple comments have been made about the vote. I would agree with the gentleman that spoke earlier that I would not be in favor of putting it to a vote of the people, just because I think that basically that's why we elect you all, and I think that I think a vote of the people would be more of a knee-jerk reaction rather than a well-thought-out review of the pros and cons.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Mr. H. David Kaplan. And then Joanne Paquette to round us off.
Well, I won't repeat myself on what previous people have said supporting the PAC, but there is one point I do want to make. The Blue Ribbon Panel talked more than funding. They looked at the economic benefits to the community, they looked at the feasibility of the activities that would be there, and also the long-range benefit to the city. So it was a three-pronged program that was very thorough, it was very positive, very supportive. You as a council have been elected to do the work to make our city what it should be. You've done the job with the Blue Ribbon Panel. Now you need to vote for the PAC. Thank you.
Thank you, H. David. And Ms. Joanne Paquette. She is speaking for 5 minutes on behalf of more than 5 members in attendance. But she's speaking as both in her function with the Federal Way Coalition for the Performing Arts and also as an individual.
Thank you, Mayor Farrell. I'll get that right one day. And council members, thank you so much. I agree with a lot of the speakers tonight that are talking about the Blue Ribbon Panel, what a fantastic job they did. I think it even surprised a lot of us that have been involved in this for a long, long time, that how positive a lot of this was. And we're just so impressed. And the idea of having 9 people, experts in their field, not connected with the PAC, participate in this was brilliant. There could have been a lot of people picked that had some connection with it, but they didn't. They had nothing to really personally gain from this, and their results just blew us away, frankly. And even if someone was against it before this study, this should convince them with the facts that this project will be of great benefit to the city. And that goes for elected officials as well, who are allowed to change their positions if facts, not before them, before, are presented. Everybody needs to be able to accept new ideas, and the council now has the knowledge to unanimously vote with confidence to move forward with the PAC. The clock is ticking and prices could rise if there is a delay. This project has been studied for years, and the Blue Ribbon Panel really was the icing on the cake. I can't think of many more questions left about it. So it's time for action. June 3rd is it. Let's do it. Let's move ahead. Okay, now I'm wearing my other hat. And this is from the Federal Way Coalition of the Performing Arts. As you know, we've been promoting a major fundraiser for May 31st, Concert for the PAC, and we had great anticipation for it, and excited about it. The people, the personnel that have volunteered their talents are amazing, and but we now need to postpone it probably into the fall due to an unexpected situation with one of the performers. It was something kind of out of the blue that nobody had any idea what happened, but so we're working on trying to find a new date to hold this, and we're looking at September. We don't want to conflict with anything else that's already happening, including our performing groups' activities, but as soon as we have a date where all of those performers can get together again, which is a little unique because they're all in such demand, but they've all agreed they really want to do this, and so as soon as we have a date, we'll let you know. But hopefully it'll be sometime in September. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. All right. That exhausts the number of pink sheets I have for individuals to comment. I'm moving now on to the consent agenda. We have a number of items, items A through K. A, minutes. April 28, 2014 special meeting, May 6, 2014 regular meeting. Now, on the consent agenda, these items have been through committee, and they are, council may take action on all of them at once. B, the 2014-15 Neighborhood Traffic Safety NTS Program Contract Award. Item C, resolution setting public hearing date for Transportation Improvement Plan. Item D, South 320th Street at 320th South Intersection Improvements Water Quality Vault Bid Award. Item E, Federal Way High School and Sacagawea Middle School Pedestrian Connection Safe Routes to School Bid Award. Item F, Lakota Middle School 13th Avenue Sidewalk Connection Project Bid Award. Item G, grant funding for transportation improvement projects, authorization to submit an application. Item H, authorize funding to approve Carl Grosch Field. It has 3 different subpoints. Authorization to transfer unallocated parks CIP and mitigation funds. The second one, resolution, submit applications for 2 grants. And the third, accepting cash donations from the Federal Way Soccer and Football Associations. Item I, 2014 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant Application. It says BVP. Item J, fiscal year 2013 Edward Byrne Justice Grant as the JAG. Item K, resolution, city sponsorship policy. Deputy Mayor Burbidge, you have a motion.
Thank you. I move approval of items A through K on the consent agenda.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Are there any items that a council member would want to pull? Okay. All right. And any discussion?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to call attention to the funding for the Carl Grosch Field over by Steel Lake, and I'd like to publicly thank the Federal Way Soccer and Federal Way Football Associations. They both donated very large sums of money to get this field recarpeted. So I'd like to thank them.
Hear, hear. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? The measure passes. And Councilmember Selsky had a plane to catch, and he is excused for the remainder of the meeting. And obviously he's absent for the vote. Let's see here. Number 6, council business. Federal Way Rotary donation and naming rights for a family funland feature. We've had the presentation from Steve Eichert. Councilmember Hunter, do you have a motion?
Yes, I do. I move acceptance of a donation from the Federal Way Rotary Service Foundation in the amount of $54,700 to be used for an Ability Rural and other ADA improvements in the Family Funland renovation project, and allowing naming rights to the Ability Rural feature, Rotary Ability Rural.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Yes. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually just wanted to acknowledge the Rotary, if I may, for their incredible work. When I was on the Parks Commission, it's something that I worked with David on, and so just very proud of the city, very proud of the council, and proud of the commission and the Rotary Club for all their incredible effort for coming together and really putting together a park that can really speak to the words of all means all. So this is a park I'm truly excited about. It's an incredible feeling. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Martin. And we know you've got a real heart for, for the disabled, and this is a great thing for our community to do this. So anything else, council members? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The measure passes. Item B, resolution, Cross Point final plat approval. Council received presentation at special council meeting. Council member Maloney, do you have a motion?
Yes. I move approval of the resolution to approve the Cross Point final plat.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The measure passes. Item C, approval of independent salary commissioner. Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Thank you. I move approval of the mayor's appointment of Michael Christner to the Independent Salary Commission as an alternate member with a term expiring February 28, 2018.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The measure passes. Council reports. Councilmember Duclos.
Thank you, Mayor Farrell. I have a long report, it's 2 pages, but I'll simplify it as much as possible. We had a meeting with the Regional Policy Committee last week on the 14th, and the first item that we discussed, and we discussed this in the Sound Cities Caucus also, was the recreational marijuana issue. And we had a synopsis of the law and background on how we got to this point. The problem we're all facing, and many have done moratoriums, and some are working on rules and regulations, is that we really don't know how to implement this. The one thing we do know that the cities are responsible for any cost incurred in the enforcement of this law, as well as any regulatory costs that we have. And so that means if our police department might have a lot of issues around them and spending a lot of time there. Some of the cities tried to get the legislature to take action to correct this, but the legislature didn't do too much this year. So that's something that we may be looking at and going back down to try and get some direction and some help for cities on this issue. During our caucus, I actually suggested that maybe the Sound Cities Association could do a survey of the cities to see where they are, what the issues are they're looking at, and if people have put anything in place to see if they would share that with us so that we could all kind of work with one another and see if we can develop some policies around this. And so I'm not sure if they're going to do that, but I pushed for it not only there, but I also pushed for it at the PIC meeting last week. The other item was rail transportation of petroleum products, which again is another big issue in our state and many of the cities that the rail lines would be going through. King County Council member Rod Dombrowski has proposed a motion that King County, in conjunction with federal, state, and regional emergency response agencies and with input from rail carriers operating in Washington, prepare a comprehensive emergency management plan to address the transportation of petroleum throughout our county. And this is a big issue. I spent 10 years in Chicago, and they have a massive rail system there. And a lot of theirs were commuter trains, and there was times I spent 10 minutes sitting at the gate waiting for the trains to go by. If you have an emergency situation and you've got one of these trains that are moving oil, they are huge, and they have to go very, very slow. That could really impact an emergency response to a situation. So that's something that really has to be looked at. Currently, rail carriers transport millions of barrels of oil a year through King County on its ways to refineries. And we're one of the closest options for refining the Bakken Formation petroleum, so we're expected to see even higher volumes on transportation by rail. And I asked how thick those cars are that are carrying the oil, and they said the old ones they have are not that thick, and they're looking at the new ones, and they're going to increase the width to about that much. I mean, about 1/4 of an inch is what stands between us and an accident and a big oil spill. So it's really, and the emergency situation, that really is a big, big issue. And King County is taking up the issue and trying to do some training. So I think even though we don't have them going through our city, it could impact our city because it's right down the hill. It could actually cut us off if something happened. At our last meeting, as chair of the Sound Cities Caucus, again, I had asked for members to send me remaining questions they had about the solid waste proposed sites, and there were so many responses that we did have a meeting. Jane Higgs, Councilmember Jane Higgs, sponsored a meeting, and Ken Miller and I attended that. And again, the issues are still around the siting of the North Station, whether some places want it, Bellevue doesn't want it, Bellevue's not going to stay in the ILA after it expires. And so the whole north area is still up in wherever. South County Station is going to go in Algona, and the only issues are the mitigation that they're negotiating with Algona City and the county. So you won't hear any more about that from me. We're all set here. I did attend the Sound Cities Policy Issue Committee meeting, and they had a very long agenda. We didn't get out of there until 10 o'clock at night. But they were talking, most of the discussion centered around the proposed Puget Sound Clear Air Agency's proposal to raise rates by 25 cents per capita. And that position, the position is that the proposed increase of 44% or more is too dramatic an increase to be borne by cities in a year or even a biennium. And there was a lot of proposals on how to change it or what we could suggest, but the motion was to oppose, and it was adopted. And there were several other meetings on the agenda. There were over 110 pages. I won't go through that all with you, but it was an interesting meeting. And Councilmember Burbidge, Deputy Mayor Burbidge is going to sit in for me next month while I'm away. The next meeting of the Finance, Economic Development, and Regional Affairs Committee is Tuesday, May 27th at 5:30 p.m. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Councilmember Duclos. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last weekend was a whole lot of fun. We had incredible events happening around the community everywhere, and had the opportunity to run into the mayor about 4 times in that one morning. But that was enjoyable. So had the opportunity to attend the community gardens, and that was an incredible event. Learned a lot about how you can use your gardens and natural ways of growing things, which is incredible. And of course, the best part of that was visiting the Truman High School, where there's a community garden there. That's something that AmeriCorps built, and I remember building that when I was an AmeriCorps member. So it was really meant a lot for me to be there and meet a whole bunch of incredible individuals in our community. Also had the opportunity to touch a truck on Saturday. So that was a fun event where kids got to go to and you know, jump in the trucks and whatnot. And there was one memorable moment, of course, with the mayor. I'll perhaps let him explain that. It was a fun moment there. The police officers were there and did an incredible job showcasing what they can do for the betterment of our community. And more importantly, in that morning, I had the opportunity to go to human trafficking, the Breaking Chains 5K event. And that was, you know, it struck me because I'm just starting to learn about human trafficking. It's just now that I'm starting to be able to go to events and like this and really learn a lot. And the one fact that I really walked away that scared me, that I learned from Representative Linda Kochmar, was 2,000 lives are being taken daily. And that is unimaginable. That is unthinkable. So whatever you can do, if you're watching or out there here in this chamber, get involved and let's start working together to get rid of this. And just wanted to quickly, lastly, mention my thanks again for the Rotary Club for their incredible work to make the Ability Whirlwind, like the mayor stated earlier. I also had the chance to go to that event that happened last year, and it was incredible how we overcame that fundraising goal to make that. So I just want to say thank you to the Rotary Club for their outstanding work. Also, thanks to John for putting together the sympathy cards for South Korea. That was a very touching gesture and a moment of him being involved. And just shows you that in Federal Way we have so many unsung heroes every single day. And so I'm proud to do what I can to acknowledge the many wonderful people that live in Federal Way. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Moore. Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. Last week was a salmon release program over at the Hylabus, and I'd like to thank staff member Holly Shilley for her work that she does with that. She works with our schools, and I think there's 24 schools that she works with, and I might be wrong on that number, but it's around 24. And they raise salmon, they learn about stormwater, they learn about how to be friendly to the environment, and at the end of the program, they get to spend a day over at the Hylabus, and they get to release their little salmon. And it's very cute because many of them will name their salmon. The Historical Society is present. They open the cabins over there so that the kids can see that years and years ago we didn't have such big houses or bathrooms in our houses. And it was a really fun day, but I'd like to thank our staff for the work that they put into that program. The Touch a Truck event was fun. The paper today had a story about it, and it said dozens of people were there. And tonight I looked again, and the headline says 1,200 people were there. And there were a lot of people there. It was a great event, and I hope we do it again. And the last thing, well, actually, 2 more things. I want to talk about Blue Poppy Days. This is an event that has been growing every single year. About 5 or 6 years ago, when I was chair of the Arts Commission, the Rhododendron Gardens came to us and asked us if we as an art commission would partner with them to hold an event in Federal Way. And we said yes. So our first event was to help them open their new conservatory. And we had some artists, we had some visual artists there, we had some performers there. And every year this program has grown, and it's changed as the years have gone by. We had about 800 people there on Saturday. And that's pretty amazing because there's a fee for one thing. It's not free. And so you have to pay your $8 to get in unless you're a member of the Gardens. And we had people coming from Canada to attend this event, which to me is pretty amazing that word reached that far, that there was a Blue Poppy event in Federal Way, Washington that they wanted to come to. And I normally don't pick people out to thank them for something with the Arts Commission, but this time I'm going to make an exception. After I left the Arts Commission, we had a woman named Kate Olson who took over as chairperson, and then Kat Mason. And Kat has recently resigned as chair of the Arts Commission to take a new job. And she is the person who is most responsible for making Blue Poppies what it is today. She's an event organizer in her real life, and she took what we started several years ago and she has made it into this event. And I think this is going to become a signature event for Federal Way. And I'd like to see it continue to grow, and I'd like to see as much city support as we can give to it, because it's bringing people into Federal Way, and that's what we want to see. And so I'd like to thank Kat Mason for her work on this. I'd also like to thank Kate Olson as a chair before her. She was there volunteering. And Bruce Lee, who is another arts commissioner who's no longer on the commission, he was there volunteering. So this is an important event in Federal Way. If you missed it, it's going to happen again next year about this same time, because the Blue Poppies have to be there. There's a little field of blue poppies. They're very beautiful. We had 17 artists who were there, and we had artists who came and want to be involved next year. And so it's pretty amazing. I also wanted to draw attention to the Family Green Fest, which is happening at the Community Center on May 31st from 10 to 2. It's always a fun day. You learn how to recycle. There's some prizes for families who do the best job of recycling in Federal Way. So if you're around the Community Center on May 31st, stop by and you'll probably learn some things about recycling. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Maloney.
Thank you. Usually by this time, everything's been said, but there have been so many events in the past couple of weeks, I have plenty I can add to what has already been said. We all except Councilmember Honda, she was excused. Did we already talk about this? I think it was the Sound Transit meeting. That was within this past 2 weeks, right? So the Chamber and Highline Community College and the city met, and this was televised, and talked about potential Sound Transit alignment. And I felt like that was a healthy discussion to start a dialogue on where the alignment should be for Sound Transit. Also within this last couple of weeks, Communities and Schools of Federal Way held their annual fundraiser. They apparently raised more than $52,000, which was above their goal, and that's an important organization in our community that supports youth who are struggling and provides adult mentors on a one-on-one basis with the youth in our schools. Councilmember Honda and Duclos and I met, and we had our first branding ad hoc meeting. And as I mentioned before, I will be reporting on those meetings as we start gearing up more, but right now it was more of an introductory meeting, but we have begun the process. The last thing I want to talk about is John Wilde. I want to touch on that again a little bit. His commitment to sending the cards to South Korea, I found that to be really touching. And the fact that he represented our community so well, or is representing our community so well, is a testament to not only him and his family and but all the people here in Federal Way and all the people who took the time to sign those cards. So I just want to give a shout out to him and thank him for all he did in that respect. Thank you.
Councilmember Sefadowson.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank everyone here. When you, as I hear everything that goes on in Federal Way and all the activities and the events, I'm just proud to be a part of this community. And so just want to say that. But also the Rotary's Ability Wheel project, I, as a person with disability and a child who had a disability, I've missed out on a lot of things. And so to see this project, and I hadn't heard about it until I read about it this week, it's just so heartwarming because you have no idea unless you're there to see what you're missing out on, and just to be on the sideline and watch this happen. So I just want to say thank you to the Rotary Club for this project, and then I also hope that Federal Way would embrace that and continue to support and see to fill the gaps and meet needs as they arise, because the need is really there. And I just want to say thank you to the Rotary Club.
Thank you, Councilmember Sefadowson. Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Thank you very much. There were so many wonderful events in the past week, and especially last weekend. And on Saturday, I managed to get to 4 of them. 3 of them have already been mentioned. The additional one was the Federal Way Chorales concert, which was outstanding, both Saturday evening and Sunday afternoon. And I want to mention another arts event coming up this weekend. Center Stage Theater has a musical program entitled Sinatra All the Way. It's from the Frank Sinatra songbook, and that's occurring this Sunday, May 25th at 2:30 p.m. at the Knudsen Family Theater. And then they have coming May 30th, and then it looks like it's through June 15th, Sisters Summer School Catechism. And for those of you who are fans of the Sisters Catechism performances, this will be a real treat. I also was able to attend on Friday a very interesting program north of us. Sound Transit had a tour of their construction area up in the SeaTac and Des Moines and Kent areas. And I'll be sharing more details of that, but it's something that I would really encourage my colleagues to attend when they have the opportunity to, if there are future offerings of this program, this kind of a tour, to see up close the size, the impact of the various structures that are sometimes used for the Link Light Rail, and just the process in general, the details of construction. It's pretty interesting, and it's also impactful in terms of anticipating what the kind of decision making we're going to be going through related to alignment and planning for Link Light Rail in our area here. This morning I also attended a meeting of the South County Area Transportation Board in the city of SeaTac at their city hall. And we had a presentation, coincidentally, related to the rail cars transporting oil. In particular, the presentation was made by a representative of BNSF, Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad. And he mentioned that they have put out an RFP for 5,000 new rail cars, which will include some additional safety features. I certainly hope that they move with haste to have those constructed. He called them next generation tank cars, which will have heat shields and thermal guards and other kinds of features, 2 different layers of metal, which will be more protective. But yes, still concerns, but at least there will be some improvements. He also mentioned that they, as a company, help provide training for first responders. They send people to programs that happen, and they also provide for training in other ways. So I would really encourage our staff to look into these resources. We may already be accessing these programs, but I hope that in case there is something we are not accessing, that we do take advantage of that opportunity. They, as a company, are required evidently to participate also when there's an improvement, for example, of a railroad crossing. They are required to provide up to something like 5% of the cost of that new construction or improvement, which seems very reasonable to me, considering that their business has been increasing significantly. They also at that meeting, there was a presentation on the voting down of the funding for transit and for King County road improvements. And there was a particular comment from the East Side counterpart, transportation group, and their strong interest in working with South King County on efforts for improving the transit service and funding for the East Side and for South King County in the future. So we'll need to stay tuned related to that. I will be attending at the end of next week a meeting of the Transportation Improvement Board in Yakima on Thursday and Friday. And that's my report. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Great meeting, and this meeting is adjourned.